now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. Oh my goodness, how are you? Happy Friday and happy New Year's Eve. Tomorrow, folks, will be 2021. It's hard to believe, but here we are. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the program. We got a full show ahead today. Some very interesting developments, I must say, as well. Some of it is quite unbelievable, to be honest, and I'm just getting a few updates for you all so that you get the latest news as and when it's happening. So, couple things first. We're going to be topics for today. We're going to be talking about NAU slackness, and I don't know if it's on the part of NAU or the applicants or both. I think it's both. So we will certainly talk about that, and then we're going to give you guys a little bit of an update on Mario Rankin, who remains in the hospital. So we're going to talk about some of that after he sustained a serious injury. And we'll give you an update there. And we're going to talk about some other things this morning. So good morning to Miss Vernita. How are you? Good morning to Evelyn. Happy New Year. Chantel has got it locked. Appreciate it. Wishing everyone a new year when it comes, says Evelyn. Thank you. Thank you. Came on here, say good morning. So good to see you. Thank you for the well wishes for the new year. And Larry is here from New York. Diamond Princess doesn't miss a beat. May we all have a positive thinking for our lives in 2022. Let's make this one better than the last. Well, I think we're all looking to hopefully make some improvements in 2022. Happy New Year, wee wee. Good morning to Elizabeth. Lizeth, good morning. She says, good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. Giving first thank you to the Almighty God to keep us safe and alive. Absolutely. During this pandemic, and strengthen and comfort to those who have lost their families. God bless. All the best to share 2022. CMR, thank you as well for being a part of our daily lives. You're welcome. Yes, did I say 2021? What did I say just now? It'll take me a minute to get the right thing, no doubt. I find that with writing things out, although we hardly write anything anymore, right? Everything is like emails or automated or whatever. But, back in the day when you still had to write things with dates, I found that for at least the first month, it took me a minute for the brain to get acclimated to the fact that it was a new year. Everyone says I keep saying 2021. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It took my brain a minute to really remember that, oh yeah, we're not in 2021 or 1997 anymore. We're in a brand new year. So expect me to probably continue to say 2021 for a little bit longer. Yes, honey child. But we don't live in the past around here. We move forward. So we are headed into 2022. I got to put a little thing in front of me that says we're now in 2022. Get a little cheat sheet or something. Okay. Good morning, Catherine. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Arvertha, good morning. Yes, Happy New Year when it comes. We are now hours away, less than 24 hours away, before it being 2022. We'll talk a little bit later about what some of your plans are, what you've got lined up. And yeah, let's get it. Okay, so first of all, someone sent me a series of videos last night. And, I was a little bit surprised at the video. And it is a young lady who, for the sake of completeness, has been an NAU client in the past. Now, obviously, I don't know her current status. I saw that her husband posted something on social media to say NAU doesn't do anything for them. Well, if NAU is paying attention this morning, they better verify that on their records. Because if NAU is not doing anything for them, then this is just a person who likes to smoke weed and post it on social media. And, that's on them. I mean, one day they might actually have a reason to be tested. And if that's the case, then, it is what it is. My only real concern here, to be quite frank, is if you are an NAU client, there should be certain standards that come with you being an NAU client. So good morning, Tommy. How are you? Thank you so much. Tommy says, great year, Sandy. Proud to be a listener to your show. Appreciate it. All the best for CMR in 2022. I appreciate that. Lavona's here. Sonia's here. Dawn has got it locked. Buenos dias to Alba. Alba says, Feliz Año Nuevo. Curtis says, is that hydro or Jamaican weed that they're smoking? Well, I don't know what kind of weed they're smoking. But, at the end of the day, if you're not an NAU client, then I guess this discussion is kind of pointless. But if you are, then a discussion needs to be had about what is really going on here. So let's watch the videos first so that we can put it in context. And then we can take it from there.
No hype and bossy, no. For them broke like dog and I move like child and tourist. Watch them I move like child and tourist. Show me no hype and bossy. Me happy up my girl, enough of them fake and me notice. Enough of them fake and me notice. A long time in no life mix up, nah discuss nobody, me no live so. And if a girl feel she brave, me we chuck off the face. Me a real top girl, me no risk up. And anything who no chat about me, make sure who no mention, say me bricks up. Because me rather be a girl where I mash up the place than I sit down in a one bag of mix up.
Them see we are
Lord.
Okay, folks. So we have Nathana Roberts here. She says, for everyone, NAU and Miss Sandra, we stopped taking help from them and on our own. Well, that's good. I'm actually very, very glad to hear that, Nathania, and I appreciate you giving us an update because, of course, we received this video with information that you were still an NAU client. And like I just said, I don't have any way of knowing that in real time. I know that obviously you've been an NAU client in the past. So if you're not an NAU client, first of all, congratulations for no longer being an NAU client. I think that's the ultimate sign of progression when you don't have to rely on NAU. Now, listen, if you're not an NAU client and you can sit down and enjoy your music and smoke your marijuana, then that's quite frankly on you. That still is breaking the law, but that's your business. If you choose to do that, ultimately, the law will have to deal with you, not me. But I must tell you that when the person said that you were still an NAU, I was thinking to myself, well, hold on a second here. This can't be right. Now, Nathania and I have had conversations in the past. I know that you are a young mother, and I would hope that you see a way forward in terms of some positive decisions in your future. And if I had to be honest with you, you're listening to this program, if I had to be honest with you, sitting under a tree, making a TikTok video, smoking weed and posting that for everybody to see, as you can see, it eventually got to me. And I don't even use TikTok, girl. I'm not on TikTok. But let's say you were looking to advance your future in some meaningful way, like getting a job, maybe one day having a career, maybe going back to school, all these things. You will determine ultimately whether or not you make those types of positive decisions in your life. And, you've got kids, and your children are watching your behavior as an example of what they should do with their lives. And so, what I would say to you is try to make better decisions. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's here to make you feel bad. But ultimately, we're on the cusp of a new year. If I were an employer and I saw that on social media, I'd be like, is this the kind of person that I want to hire into my company? Even if it's working at a gas station pumping gas, you can't afford to have someone showing up high to work because there's some serious implications for, that sort of behavior. Now, one thing about NAUs, I've always thought that they seem to require a lot of paperwork, but there seems to be little follow-up and little requirements of the candidates themselves. And I think this is where NAU, I'm hoping that we all go into 2022, a new year, to really see if we can make some improvements. I think government needs to make some improvements across the board, every single department, agency, and whatever, all the government boards, and NAU needs to make some improvements too. So one of the things that I wonder, and maybe Nathania, you could tell us if you think this is a good idea, but I think NAU should be drug testing all of their clients. What can I say except that should be a very logical requirement, because you shouldn't be an NAU and be sitting down smoking anything. And so if they drug test you, they'll know that, hey, if you're smoking pot, well, first thing is that's against the law, and they can't have people who are breaking the law in NAU. And maybe, there's some people who might be addicted to pot or whatever, and they need to get them some help. NAU should also be giving people birth control as one of the requirements of being an NAU. And we've talked about this on this program before, but Nathania has said, yeah, my mistake. And I appreciate that, because you know what? It's easy for people to blame other people and curse other people out and whatever. And, we're all prone to, I always try to correct people. It's not a mistake. It's just a poor decision, right? A mistake is when you do something without having any knowledge that was probably something that was completely wrong. And you didn't put any thought into it. If you trip and fall, that was a mistake, right? When we make poor decisions, part of recovering from it is to just, as you're trying to do, you just own it and say, at the end of the day, I made a poor decision, not a mistake. It's not a mistake. Just like we said, what Edlin Miles did, what, Makiva Bush did. These are not mistakes. These are poor choices, poor decisions, and we move on from it. I would suggest, if you enjoy smoking pot, that you might want to look at some other options of things that you could do that actually further your life. Like I'm not a smoker at all. I mean, I try not to put anything in my lungs that's going to end up causing cancer and all these other things, right? But I get that some people enjoy smoking marijuana, and a lot of people are actually addicted to it. And anything that's an addiction, whether it's food, smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana, whatever, certainly can't be something that, even alcohol, none of those things are things that are going to better your life. So, if you need some help for that, I think that there are options out there. Diana Marie says, let's keep those in our prayers dealing with the massive fire in Colorado. Oh my gosh. I did see that, and we'll talk about that a little bit here this morning. Good morning to Miss Iva. Happy New Year. Alice is here. Alice, I hope that you're feeling better. Nathania says that she's thought through it. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And Lavonna says, yes, glad that she's acknowledged that it was let's not call it a mistake, a poor decision. Yeah, Sky, morning. Janelle says, good morning, Miss Sandra. Happy New Year. And are you hardly doing, I've been trying to get the poor man's relief from the time my husband died. And he used to get it at the time. It was $550. When he died, they took it from me, knowing while I had no income. And the doctors put it in my medical records that I'm not able to work through medical problems. All they're doing for me is give me $150 every 2 weeks for fosters. And please don't call my name. Well, why did you put that at the end? Well, your comment is public, so obviously they've seen it. What I would say for those of you who are having an issue with NAU in terms of not able to get any benefits is I would recommend that you actually email the head of the NAU department. Now, there's been some changes during COVID. I think they had shift things around a little bit. So I don't even know if it's still that young lady, but you need to call them and ask them who's head of NAU, who's the, I forget what her official title is, but you just ask them for the top person. And then you send her an email, because what you want to start doing is documenting the slackness. Document everything. And so, document that and email her and say, this is a situation, and try to get a response from them in writing, because then that will help your case when you have to make a formal complaint. So Jack G This looks like a fake account. Says, why don't you talk about the cokeheads? Well, we talk about everybody here, Jack G. If you were actually someone who participated on the show, listened, when I say participate, I mean listen, you would know that no one is going to get a pass, because everybody needs to be doing their part, right? And we're all flawed. We're all human beings. Some people have a crack addiction. We're talking about that young man who goes around stealing from people's vehicles. Apparently he has some kind of crack or cocaine habit. And that's one of the reasons why he can't leave people's vehicles alone. His father is Nal Bodden, somebody with lots of money and lots of options in life. And so you think just because somebody's parent has money that they should automatically be getting a pass or doing better or whatever. We don't give anybody a pass in this program, Jake G. And whatever Thad Bodden, I think that's his name, Thaddeus or Thad Bodden or something, whatever his issue is, and based on what people have said, it seems to largely be a drug addiction issue that then prompts him to go and try to steal money from vehicles in order to support his drug habit, right? He needs help. And I think that help has been offered to him, but like everything else, he needs to make the decision in life to either accept and take the help or not. And obviously he's decided not to. I understand he's in and out of jail. It's like the revolving door of jail for him. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of people on this island who have a drug addiction that then fuels other behavior. And that's why I must tell you, I was a little bit disappointed to see this young lady posting up such a video, because, you know, I've always seen her to be, the little interaction that I've had with her, she's very, very genuine. And I've always thought that she's been trying her best, especially when it comes to her children and that sort of thing. So Rastafari says, one thing that never ceases to amaze me is how people that consume the drug alcohol are critical of people that consume herb. Well, I don't consume either one. So clearly you're not referring to me, because I do not consume alcohol and I do not consume herb. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't think that putting any of those chemicals into your body are necessarily helpful. I think that, you know, for alcohol drinkers, there's a lot of people who have a glass of wine with dinner and they can do it in moderation. There's nothing wrong with alcohol in moderation. And in fact, you know, I may not necessarily be opposed to a mature adult smoking marijuana if it's legal in their jurisdiction to do so in moderation. There's some people who enjoy whatever it is that they get from it. Where I'm opposed to it is no form of smoking is beneficial to you whatsoever. It's cancer causing, okay? There's no argument in the world that you can bring to me that smoking anything, I don't care if it's a piece of paper, is going to be beneficial to your lungs. But at some level, it is your body and it is your choice, as long as it doesn't impact other people. So if you're smoking and you're not smoking around people who are non-smokers, you're not smoking around children, and it's really cigarette smoke and marijuana smoke and stuff is one of those things that smokers don't realize how much it seeps into everything around them. And there's such a thing as third-hand smoke, which actually gets into like clothing and furniture. And so even when you're not sitting there actively smoking it, it is something that remains in fabrics and around people, and it impacts, you know, it impacts other people who are non-smokers. But if you were in an environment where you could smoke on your own and do your own thing, whatever, honestly, I don't care. It's just like drinking. If you want to drink, I'm not here to give you a moral compass about drinking. Just like I'm honestly not here to give you a moral compass about sex either. If you want to be having as much sex as you want to be up and down the place, as long as you're having it with consenting adults, and, you know, you're hopefully being safe about it, I don't really care. You know what I mean? To me, I'm not your Bible. I'm not your moral barometer. But I do think that there's certain times when you're doing certain things. For example, if you're going to smoke marijuana, you shouldn't be an NAU client, in my opinion. You shouldn't be posting it on social media, because smoking marijuana is still an offense in this country. So until y'all do away with that, and you need to talk to your politicians about that, I don't see it going away anytime soon. But until that happens, that young lady is actually on video committing an offense, and she may not understand the implications of that in terms of her future. So John says, you mean making contraceptive available? Well, listen, not only should it be made available, it should be one of the things on the NAU list that is ticked off. And listen, you can decide if a man comes in, because I'm an equal opportunity, I'm going to call you out kind of person. So if a man comes in and he needs NAU because he got 50 million children, seems to me that he needs to be on some form of contraceptive too. It's not fair that only women who are the bearer of the children should be held accountable for contraceptive choices. So there are contraceptive options for men. And I'm sorry, but by the time you hit 10 children by 9.5 different women, it might be time for you to consider getting a little snit, because you can't afford to have any more children. You can't afford the 10 that you have. You know what I'm saying? Even if you had an extremely good job in this day and age, affording 10 children, that's a lot. So I'm not advocating birth contraceptive options just for women. I'm an advocate of it for everyone, including a lot of these no good men who are out there spreading their royal oats or not so royal oats all over the place. Yeah, Zambula, that took me for a little bit of a situation there, because if you make a comment on Facebook, then obviously the name is there. Morning, Louie, joining us from Detroit. Diamond Princess says, I totally agree with the changes you suggested for NAU. And these are simple things. You know, I feel like NAU frustrates the life out of people with their application process. So at the bottom of the application, just add a couple bit more check boxes on some of the things that we could be working on. Good morning to Miss Ann. Zambula says, we all make mistakes. Again, we all make poor decisions. And we also believe in second chances, young ladies. So, you know, it is what it is. You be strong and you be better. So Curtis says, I think the vaccine is a lot worse than the weed, my opinion. Well, Curtis, that might be your opinion, but it's factually not correct. If I told you what weed does to your body, just the smoking of weed, and I know y'all talking foolishness about, oh, it makes me relax, I'm more of a this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, I would encourage y'all to read some facts and then come back to me and have the conversation. So, yeah, Miss Brenda, good morning, Happy New Year. She said, if people want to smoke their weed, let them. At least she's not behind the wheel of a car. I don't and have never smoked weed, but no problem with people having a spliff. Well, Eddie says that that marijuana is not an addictive activity. There are no addictive ingredients in marijuana. Well, I would say that anything can be an addictive activity, whether there are addictive ingredients or not. Now, I haven't, let me have a look at this, Eddie, to see if it actually, because I'm pretty sure that it's addictive, because there are actually marijuana addiction groups and stuff out there. So there are people who legitimately cannot stop smoking. Now, is there addictive properties in alcohol? I think if you have an addictive personality, you will get addictive to anything, you know, regardless of what the ingredients are. There are people who are addicted to sex. Well, what about sex has an addictive ingredient? You know what I mean? I don't think that it's about necessarily the ingredients in it. Although, I mean, I think people can mix marijuana with a lot of different things. And sometimes when you're buying your herb from other people, you don't even know what's in it. So here's what the statistics show. And this is the marijuana research report from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And they say that marijuana can lead to the development of problem use, which is known as marijuana use disorder, which takes the form of addiction in severe cases. So recent data suggests that 30% of those who use marijuana may have some degree of marijuana use disorder. So they're fancying it up a little bit. People in particular who begin using the marijuana before the age of 18 are 4 to 7 times more likely to develop a marijuana use disorder than adults. And we know this already because no child or person under the age of 25 should be indulging in marijuana, because it actually changes the composition of your brain. And there is such a thing as marijuana dependence. So marijuana use disorders are often associated with dependence, in which a person feels withdrawal symptoms when not taking the drug. People who use marijuana frequently often report irritability, mood and sleep difficulties, decreased appetite, cravings, relentlessness, and or various forms of physical discomfort that peak within the first weeks after quitting and last up to 2 weeks. Marijuana dependence occurs when the brain adapts to large amounts of the drug by inducing production of and sensitivity to its own endocannabinoid neurotransmitters. I'll send you this link, folks, so you can read this for yourself. The bottom line is, yes, marijuana can be addictive. That's the bottom line. Read it for yourself. I'm sure there's tons of other studies and stuff out there. Here they're talking about 2005, about 4 million people in the United States met the diagnostic criteria for a marijuana use disorder. So check it out and get back to me on that. So, you know, it's a very popular recreational drug for a lot of people. JD says, legality aside, I'm quite sure many NAU recipients buy cigarettes on the regular. Why the double standard? Well, if you know anything about me, JD, I'm opposed to, like I said, any form of smoking. And I think cigarette smoking is one of the most repulsive habits that a person can have. And so much so that I don't even have friends that I'm aware of that smoke. If you are a smoker, you're not likely to be in my friendship circle. There's one exception, actually. I do have a friend that I know smoke, but she never smokes around me. And I forget that she's a smoker. She never smells of cigarette smoke. And she's one of those people, I think, that has like 1 cigarette a day, which I'm like, why bother at all? But, you know, my father was a smoker, and I think it's just a really disgusting habit. And it's probably the singular, other than eating habits, which we've talked about on this show before, smoking cigarettes is, when it comes to preventable diseases, it's definitely one of those things that a lot of us can do to prevent all sorts of diseases in life. Is just to quit smoking. It is really one of the worst habits for your health. And I'm always surprised that a couple of years ago, there was a young lady who, relatively young, probably like in her 40s, and she got cancer, and she was a smoker. And so she was telling her friends that smoking doesn't cause breast cancer or doesn't cause cancer. And when her friend said that to me, and I said, and you're believing this because you've never read anything about the ill effects of smoking? Are you kidding me? Like, I can't even fathom how in this day and age anybody could say that smoking doesn't cause cancer, amongst other things. Heart disease, it clogs your arteries, it does horrible things to you. But one person says cigarettes don't impede clarity of thought. Well, this person says just as stupid as weed, just not a high. I don't know what people get out of smoking, but okay. I think she should have rolled up tobacco cig with Bocelli music in the background. It'd be a different perception. Damien, not for me. Again, I don't believe in any form of smoking. I don't go to tobacco or cigar bars or anything like that. But again, those are personal choices that people will make. Now, Damien, is there a different perception like in the real world? Like if somebody had posted a video of them, as you said, smoking a cigarette or cigar or whatever, and listening to, I don't care what they were listening to in terms of music, even if they were listening to the exact same music that was in that video, would there be a different perception? Of course there would be. This is the real world that we live in. And perceptions matter, you know? And if you're a person who has to care about what other people think about you, then yes, you should be mindful of the perception that your behavior puts out there, especially when you yourself decide to put it in social media. So it's one of those things where it is what it is. It's like the perception of someone having a tattoo. You know, if you all tatted up, somebody posted this on Facebook the other day. If you're all tatted up, people do have a certain perception of men and women who have tattoos. I'm only telling you the truth. Somebody said now it's vaping, another way to wreck your body. You know, human beings seem to love to do things that don't give them much of a fighting chance. So Zambula says she's correcting herself now. She's not an NAU client. Well, she has said she's not an NAU client. We've certainly allowed that information to go out there. Can you prove, Zambula, that she's not an NAU client? No. Just like I couldn't prove that she was in real time. And mind you, if I'm curious enough to know, I'm pretty sure I can find out if she is or if she isn't. But she has said she isn't. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. And we put the information out there. This conversation about NAU needs to be had regardless. She says she's not an active NAU client. Will she be an NAU client in the future? We'll see. Rastafari says water is also chemical. No, it's not. I mean, if you want to say H2O shows up on the chart of like molecule, what Rastafari? You've been smoking something this morning? Say what? So Ms. Brenda says ganja and marijuana is classified as medicinal. It can be classified as medicinal in certain forms. What we see people doing, as in that video, which is just smoking it, is not the medicinal form. It needs to be the what is it called? That's extracted from the marijuana that actually makes it medicinal. So just growing some in the backyard and smoking it, that does not normally classify as medicinal marijuana. And medicinal marijuana in this jurisdiction is actually can be legal if you go through the correct steps to obtain it. So again, you can't just go to the guy in the corner and be like, oh, give me a spliff. And then when you get arrested, you tell the police, oh yeah, it's my back pain. So yes, thank you. So cannabis oil, which is different than sitting there smoking a stick of marijuana, THC is a very different situation. So, there's a new UK study that reported that street cannabis across the world has become substantially stronger over the past 50 years. I'll give you all this article to read as well, because I think if we're going to have a discussion, which I'm not really getting into long, retracted discussion on marijuana, but if we're going to have a discussion on it, I think we should all be properly informed about some of the things that we're saying. Damon says, so then that question should be in a work permit application also, or an interview. What question? Do you use drugs? Well, I don't know if most companies ask you that, but I think there is an implied question when you apply for a drug. I'm trying to think here if I've ever applied for a job. I know I've applied for jobs that have asked that in an application form. Does every employer ask that? Because there are a lot of employers who your ability to be able to think clearly, think on your feet, not be foggy and all these things is really, really a good part of being employable. Aliano says, the point is to not be on social media looking for clout. Well, this is the double standard, right? And we're going to segue into a conversation now because I want to give you guys an update on Mario Rankin and his situation. And this Aliano, quite interestingly enough, plays into that as well. So I'm going to pin your comment for a second because I want to come back to that. But I just want to see who else has a comment on this before we kind of segue over. Emma says it's impossible to help anyone unless they want it. Until they hit the low enough bottom, they won't be ready for any help that's available to them. The rehabilitation services are available, but a whole new approach needs to be established for rehabilitation in the Cayman Islands. A lot of these guys have no problem going to jail. It's the best life they live, and the drugs are still available. Check out the Netherlands system. Their prisons are being used to house the homeless. And unfortunately, your comment got cut off there. Good morning to Lewis. It's Happy New Year from the Republic of West Bay. Blissful Powell, thank you so much. I'm watching from my hospital bed. Missed the start of the show, but I'm watching and recovering. Bless up. What happened to you, Blissful? Hopefully you're making a full recovery. Nobody likes to be in the hospital, trust me. Good morning to Miss Joy joining us from Texas. Louis, he's a herb smoker. We know this. And he says, yep, you will see all of those people with underdeveloped from smoking cannabis walking around our communities, WTH. Well, I keep telling y'all that the brain does not become fully developed until you're about 25 years old. So, when you're younger, don't get engaged in certain activities. Miss Andrea, good morning. Good morning, Miss Bonnie. Juliet is here. Good morning, Miss Sue. Oh, I didn't want to use that straw after all. Ugh. Happy New Year. Thanks for all you do to have the CMR show. Thank you. Louise says, I think the cannabis discussion is going south. Let's talk about the benefits and why it should be legal. Well, this wasn't really going to be a cannabis discussion at all. This was going to be a discussion about NAU and some of the standards that needs to be set for NAU. So let's leave this discussion alone. So CBD, thank you, Chantel. That's medical cannabis oil is very different. So yes, the CBD is extracts and doesn't get you high. That's correct. And Chantel says she uses CBD every day and it's life-changing. And that's completely legal. And there's nothing wrong with medical cannabis. But that's not smoking a spliff. They're two very, very different things. Okay, so let's move on. So thank you, Helody, joining us from Jamaica today. So good to see you. So Moya says about 80% of the population smokes either out of habit or way of self-medicating. The reality is that the government of the past has turned a blind eye to the underlying mental and psychological issues that many of our communities are facing and have endured. I don't think that 80% of the people smoke at all, but that's probably something that we could. Was that on the census question about whether or not you smoke? Did they ask any health questions on the census? I know they asked a lot of like economic based questions, but I don't remember any health questions. Who's collecting any health data on people? I don't know. All right, let's move on. So to the point here that Aliano has made, which is that a lot of people on social media are looking for clout. Now, listen, when you put yourself on social media, you do, you put yourself out there. Like, I don't even know how to say this, but once you put yourself out there, you do open up Pandora's box, so to speak. So I am, unfortunately, guilty of this to a certain extent. So I am a public persona. So I do put, it's kind of weird for me because I'm actually delivering the news. And so I come on the program, talk about news and whatever, and I put tidbits of my life out there, but I do understand I'm in a public space. And so that does lead to a certain degree of public commentary, perhaps, about the things that I do. Now, there is a line that people can cross, even with me, when it comes to the things that they say, and they think that there is no line because, oh, well, she's a public figure, this, that, and the next thing. It's just like politicians. There are things that you can say about politicians more so. You have more leeway than you can about the average person because they put themselves out there for politics. So their behavior is up for scrutiny more perhaps than private individuals or private citizens. However, what that means is when someone who's in the public eye does certain things, they are open to a degree of scrutiny. And I'm going to give you some examples of how this works. So if you go to court, you're arrested, you're charged, all of that is a matter of public information. So I had someone recently message me about Kimberly Riley, who was the young lady over at the Department of Licensing who was scamming us, the people, right? And they said, oh, well, you shouldn't put this up there. This is her business. And I'm like, once you're in court, it becomes the country's business, actually. That's why court is open court. Anybody can go to court. And in 99.9% of the instances, you can show up and you can listen to court proceedings. Now, sometimes there are reporting restrictions in place, and it depends on there's different reasons why. So certain things involving children, obviously, you can't name victims or anything that might lead someone to know who a victim is. So there's reporting standards like that, particularly when it comes to children. Sometimes there are legal arguments before a decision is rendered that the lawyers are having and they present to the judge. You can sit there and listen to those legal arguments all you want, but you can't report on them, especially when it's a jury trial, because it has the possibility the argument can be made that it's going to sway the jurors one way or the other. So there's that. So there's certain instances, there's the mental health court. So there's certain things in relation to that you can't report. That's why for some people, like the young man who's breaching quarantine, his lawyer right away is like, oh, let's get him in mental health court, because then the media frenzy around his continued breach of the law, then they can't report on it. So basically he gets protection from the court because he's in mental health court. Well, unfortunately for him, he's got a whole lot of other cases that are not in mental health court. Okay, assaulting police. He tried to escape the other day from the courthouse. So he keeps doing stuff that puts him in the limelight in any event, right? So those things are a matter of public record. So someone has just said, even if it's not in court, she's a civil servant, so it's our business. Yeah. I mean, she's defrauding we the people. You know what I'm saying? To me, this is so funny how people think about this. Oh, well, it's her business. No. When you defraud the people, the government, you're stealing from the people, you're putting people out there who haven't taken a driver's test, and yet you have them in the system as having done so. That's why we have so many accidents. That's why we should all be concerned about what fraud is occurring in DVDL and other places within government. So yes, that's definitely our business. So someone was saying to me yesterday about Mario, and Miss Archer, Miss Brenda says they were health questions. Child, I don't even remember them. But anyway, someone was saying, Mario, oh, he's a private person. Why is his information out there? And I said, well, Mario himself has decided to put himself in the public arena. So he's a former political candidate, right? He ran for political office. He sued the government when the government said to him, you're actually not eligible to run for political office because of a previous conviction. So he put that whole lawsuit out there. And of course, when you sue someone, that again is a matter of public record. Even civil cases, folks, are a matter of public record. Now, we reported on some young men recently who defrauded, allegedly, in a civil case, who were said to have defrauded an insurance company. And people are like, well, why are you reporting on this? And I said, because it's a civil case. You can go on the judicial website and read the case for yourself. Once the documents are filed, all of these things are in the public sphere. So this isn't somebody's private business. Just like I could look up online that Edlin Miles has been sued 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times since the 1980s in Grand Court. It's a matter of public record. And do you know, just as an aside really, that the Cayman Islands government sues people all the time? So when the government has you down for, not paying different fees or whatever, it seems to me that lately they have been taking a very interesting position, and that they're trying to recover, which I guess you would say, who can blame them? But they have been trying to recover a lot of money that is owed to them. And so, I could go right now and have a look at the court list. And in fact, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like so that you can get a little bit of an idea. This is all a matter of public record. So every single thing that's filed in court, hold on a second here, is a matter of public record. Y'all don't need to get up in arms about it. Somebody's suing you, it's a matter of public record. So this is the judicial website. And this is the judgment section. And I'm going to go show you where you see the actual lawsuits as well. But this is the judgment section. And you can see, here's a judgment and trustees summons. Traded Life Policies Fund is in official liquidation versus Jeremy Leach et al. So that's a civil matter. And it'll tell you over here, Financial Services Division, FSD, and then you've got regular civil court and so on, right? In the matter of Carlington Dawson, statutory contempt of court for acting as a lawyer. Ooh. Principles to be applied in sanctioning contemnor. Well, this is an interesting case. Statutory contempt of court for acting as a lawyer. What? I've never heard of someone trying to act as a lawyer if they're not a lawyer. Well, that's an interesting case that I better hurry up and read. So I can go and purchase it and I click on it and read it. Here's one, TW versus MW. This is family law. So a lot of times in family law, especially when it has to deal with children, they will use the initials of the parties involved. So this is principles on an application to vary child maintenance order. So that's why they're using their initials as opposed to their actual names, right? But it's all here. Here's me. Look at me showing up with the John Felder case. So these are all things that are a matter of public record, folks. Attorney General of the Cayman Islands versus Rich Garfield and Jason McCoy. This was the fire officers. Okay, the Attorney General lost that one, by the way. We posted that in CMR. Verame Patricia Ebanks versus the Cayman Islands government. So she is correctly applied to trial judge. Ramsey determined to remain an officer of the Cayman Islands government following the unlawful termination of her employment. Okay, so this sounds like an interesting one. She was in house arrest for 1 year after being convicted of causing death by reckless driving. That seems like a case that we probably all want to read. Here's Stratas suing each other. So this is Strata Limited suing Strata Plan number 22. Something about request for documents, right? And then we can actually go under the search registrar and we can see what has been filed. So here's some company called K&R Global Cayman Limited Restoration Order, reinstatement order. So some of these are just financial services. These are all financial services. Judgment on trustees summons. Here's a plaint. So somebody named, Strata is suing Gresley, Gabriela, Orellana Ordonez, and Luigi Ordonez. So normally when you see a strata involved, that's for non-payment of strata fees. Here's an order. This one is the estate of Isaac Gutman, deceased, application for grant of probate. So when you die, you have to go through the whole probate process. So that's what these are. Here's one for James Edison Robinson, application for special leave, liquidation company stuff. So all these things, folks, are really a matter of public record. So here's two people suing each other. Someone called Alcott Anthony Fisher suing Nayron Peralta. Okay, so you'd have to look at these to see what they're about. Narval Buchanan suing Madge Marie Smith. There's a winding up order. Divorce applications. So Christina Anderson is divorcing Ian George Anderson. Cindy Romero is divorcing or wanting to divorce Jeffrey Seymour. Jeffrey Seymour. And this is how it works for folks. And trust me, there are literally tons of applications here and filings. So this is interesting. Statutory contempt for acting as a lawyer. I've honestly never heard of such a thing before, so I will look at that just out of interest. You have other people here. Dennis is trying to get a divorce from Dacia Melody. Companies suing each other. More divorce applications. Vince Beckford and Camille Beckford Nee Mitchell. Judy Young, Peter Young, Matthew Gook, and Laura Gook. So all this stuff, folks, is in court. So listen, it's a matter of public record. Don't feel no way about it. Premier Rentals is suing Kirsty Hamilton. Don't know what that's about, but you click on it and you get all the details. Trina Gideer Singh is finally divorcing Rohan Gideer Singh. Isn't this the guy who was convicted of rape? Rohan Gideer Singh, and served some time in jail. And then he tried to appeal. This was the guy who, as I recall correctly, Rohan, he actually assaulted a visitor at the hotel where he worked, and then pretended to claim that it was consensual. And
Mom, can you show them?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So that's very interesting that she's finally divorcing him. Good for her. I wouldn't want to be married to a rapist. But anyway, all of these things.
Mom, I'm not done with it.
Okay, do you want me to show it now?
Yeah, you have to show it now, but I'm not done.
Okay. All right, folks. So all of these things are matter of public record. So when someone in the public arena is in court, just like myself, people report on it. That's to be expected. I don't get offended when people report on it. They just have to make sure they get the reporting correct, right? So, we've been reporting on the situation with...
Mama, show them now.
Okay. All right. I have an impatient 5-year-old. My apologies. She has an experiment that she wishes for me to show you all. And this is her experiment in a bag. She's been making... What is it that you're making, ma'am?
I'm making pink snow.
Okay, so she says that she's making pink snow, and this is her little experiment in the bag. And what does the pink snow consist of? What is the ingredients?
It's for my doll hair can be pink.
Okay, but what are the ingredients? What's in it?
Sugar, water, and pink paint.
Isn't it salt? I don't think it's sugar.
Salt.
Uh-huh.
And water.
Uh-huh. And pink paint. All right, so she's making some kind of paste here. This is her experiment, and she says it's for her doll. Okay, thank you. They saw it now. Thank you very much, ma'am.
It's pink yogurt. It's pink snow for my doll.
Pink snow for her doll.
Actually, pink soda.
Pink soda. So, she has on her headsets today, but she was like working on this experiment. Anyway, so yeah, folks, this is all a matter of a public record, right? So Mario's in the public space. So when someone says, well, why are you reporting that Mario had a fall when he's a public figure? If the premier had a fall at his house, we'd report it. You guys remember last week, we reported that 2 MPs came down with COVID. I don't even see what the issue is. It's just part of like the reporting standards. But in Cayman, we do have a very different perspective of how these things should work. And our perspective doesn't align with worldwide perspectives and what is accepted everywhere else in the world. Let me give you an example. Someone called me yesterday and they said, can you remove a video of an accident? Now, you accident people be sending me this foolishness all the time. And let me just say for the record, the short answer is no. We don't remove fender benders, accident footage. I have literally had a picture taken of an accident scene, posted it up, and had people call the police to say, ask CMR to take that down. Now, even if the police call me, half the time they're laughing like, Sandy, we got this phone call, we're just calling you because, and it's like a big joke. And I'm just like, why are you wasting police time and resources even calling me? They just need to tell the person that's not an offense. If you do something in public, you have an accident on a public roadway and someone snaps a photo of it, someone records you, that's not a criminal offense. They can do that. Shocking, right? So the person, their reasoning for calling is that somebody else involved in the accident had not yet seen anything or they can't recall anything. I'm sorry, but that's not how this works. Remember when that guy from the Fast and the Furious had an accident? I can't remember his name now, and he got killed. and that was a fiery picture and photos and whatever, I understand that family members would be upset by seeing the aftermath and the pictures of these things, right?
I'm gonna need to pour more salt because it's a little liquidy.
Okay. And you do realize you're using up all of Mummy's salt, right?
You can use the other pair of salt.
So, you know, I understand when people are like, you know, this will be something that's upsetting to the family members. And I totally get that. And it's not that I'm not sympathetic towards that. What I would suggest is that, and this is what I said to the persons yesterday, in this particular case, if you don't want to see something, you don't look, right? So if he's just waking up out of a coma or whatever, and you don't want him to see this accident information, take away his phone. Just explain to him that he needs to rest. He's still, you know, recovering or whatever. This was well over a month ago or close to a month now. So for him to even find it, he would have to purposely, it's not something that's like at the top of the CMR page. So he would have to be purposely look. Yes, Mama.
Can you close this for me?
Okay. He would have to. Miss, you have a hole in it. So even if I close it, you have to be careful because it's going to come out the hole. Okay? I think you might need another Ziploc bag. Can you get another Ziploc bag? Can you get another Ziploc bag? You need a double Ziploc this one. This is going to spill all over the place. So, yeah, you know, these things happen. I get the sensitivity, and we have over the years attempted to be more sensitive. So, for example, you know, we try to cover up victims. If we get a photo of something, we try to cover the individuals up as much as possible. I have to send it to the video editing team or whatever, because I don't really know how to do those things. And I say to them, you know, what can you do with this? Sometimes they can do something more than others, you know, but once it's in public, it's kind of fair game. And what I would say is if you're very sensitive, because there are people who are sensitive to certain types of content, I would say to probably not read certain things. Yeah. Now, poor, let's talk about Mario. Poor Mario. He had a fall at home. There have been people who said to me, who speculated, is this really a fall? Because his injuries seem like it's something more. I have certainly considered the point, and I think that what it seems to be is probably what it is. So there is this wow, did somebody beat him up? Did this happen? Listen, can you close the door, please? Close the door, Mama. She just walks on. I'm very aware that Mario has had physical altercations with people in the past, and I think this is maybe why people are asking the question, because they feel like, well, if people had beat him up before and sent his cars on fire and all this kind of stuff, is there a possibility that this could have been another such situation? Everybody likes the conspiracy theory, right? While anything is possible, I do not think that that is the probable situation in this particular case. And there's a number of things that I know about the details of what transpired, why I say that. Now, I understand the nature of his injuries are such that people are like, that's from a fall. Listen to me. If you fall from the wrong height and the wrong way and you land on certain things or whatever, your injuries could very well look like somebody beat you up. So you can have laceration marks. You could have an ear that is partially lacerated that needs to be reattached. None of these things necessarily mean that you were beaten up, as people are speculating. There's nothing else that leads to that. And there were people who did not necessarily witness the incident, but they were in the home and they heard the fall. So do I believe that all these people would be conspiring to lie that he had gotten beaten up? That he fell when in fact he'd gotten beaten up? I don't really think so. and I think the police would be investigating it as an assault. There'd be other indicators. I'm a fair person. And I think that, all these things, if it's something else, eventually comes to light anyway. You just got to sit back and wait it out. So I don't think that that's happening. So here's his current situation, right? He has been moved to the surgical ward. And again, if you're his family member and you don't like hearing this information, all I can tell you is, don't listen. But, it's a matter of, something happens to the premier. We all know Bernie Bush, when he had his heart situation, we all knew that Bernie had had heart surgery. Dr. Tomlinson just had a heart attack. When you're in the public, and a lot of people are in the public to different and varying degrees, this information becomes a matter of a bit of public record. So yes, he is now on the surgical ward. So he was in ICU yesterday. That was the seriousness of what he was dealing with. It was a very serious fall, folks. In terms of Mario's injuries, we are looking at severe injuries, which include broken ribs, a bad cut to his head. He's all bruised up. Bad cut to one ear. So that's why the surgery in that ear was required. And a concussion and bruising and bleeding on the brain. Now, obviously, of all of those things, the most serious one is the bruising and bleeding on the brain, because that is a situation that needs to be watched very, very carefully. So any kind of brain trauma or brain injury, folks, that's why you don't shake babies, and you don't, when you get in an accident and you're like shaking about, the first things that they look at is they're going to look at your brain, because you can have internal injuries. You can look fine on the outside. And if they're not paying attention to internal injuries, like if, your kidneys get injured and they're bruised, or, fractured ribs, or, you can look perfectly fine on the outside, but they've got to do x-rays, ultrasounds, whatever exploratory stuff, conducting tests to make sure that everything on the inside looks okay. Because one simple little bleed in your brain will kill you. Okay. So, when he fell and they found him, he was bleeding. It was obvious that he had head trauma, bleeding out of ears, nose, everything. And talking gibberish, which is normally an indication of a concussion. And so at the very minimum, they knew he had a concussion, but the bleeding obviously would have made them do, I'm sure, brain scans and stuff. And they found out that he actually had bleeding on the brain, which was of a serious, serious nature. And so they sedated him that first night in order to, I'm not a medical doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I think a lot of times they will either induce you and put you in a coma or sedate you, because the less your brain has to do and the more you can just rest. And when it comes to brain injuries, the better. So a lot of times that's why they sedate you. That's why they put you under, because they need the brain to do as little as possible. And they will put you in a breathing machine. They will help you do all the other stuff so that your brain can just rest. So the good news is, I think that he's coming out on the other side of this, and he has now been moved to the surgical ward. And so that's a good sign. You move somebody from ICU to the surgical ward, that's normally a good sign. So yesterday, in the course of writing our story on this, we understood, and again, CMR got ears and eyes and even noses sniffing out stuff all over the place. So we understood that that security was told that he was not to have any visitors, which I think is understandable. If you're in ICU, you probably need as much rest. And again, because he's a public figure, y'all know how y'all are public figures. You want to just roll up and be like, oh yeah, I listened to his show, I'm going to go in as a visitor. The man needs to rest. So I totally understand why they would say no visitors. But one of the things that was a bit peculiar that probably led to speculation then, if you will, was that there was also an instruction not to accept any packages. And people were like, what is that all about? Like, who would be sending him a package that you couldn't accept? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you guys send packages to people in ICU or in the hospital even? Do you take people packages? What would you be taking them? Ivermectin? I mean, I don't know. So I think that is a little bit weird. To be honest, I don't really know what that instruction was about, but you know, I don't know. Now, the other interesting thing that I have been reliably informed of this morning is that apparently he has COVID as well. Now, I find this so ironic, and I know you conspiracy theories are going to be out there trying to say that maybe someone, this is some kind of setup. I mean, on the one hand, it's probably not that unbelievable because everybody's getting COVID in Cayman. But on the other hand, being the anti-vaxxer that he is, it is ironic that he would actually be testing positive for COVID. Because, in order to go into the hospital on any ward to be admitted, you have to do a COVID test. That's not optional. And so to now hear that he is COVID positive is a little bit interesting. Now, I don't know if he has Omicron, Delta, or whatever, but that's just crazy. So now, in addition to fighting all the other stuff that his body is having to go on with, it does sound like he's got, and you notice the numbers. It's so interesting how if you pay attention to the numbers, you would have recognized that we had 4 people in the hospital with COVID. And then yesterday, when the numbers came out last night, there was that one additional person that was added, number 5. Well, who do you think number 5 was? Isn't this amazing? So I'm hoping that his COVID symptoms are mild, although he's unvaccinated. I'm hoping that does not present any additional complications as it relates to his other treatment. Because, this is the thing with COVID. COVID is survivable. Lots of people survive it. Lots of people say, oh, it felt like a flu. Some people say it felt like the worst flu of my life. And months later, I still can't properly breathe and da-da-da-da. But you take COVID and put it on top of a person who has cancer, who is a diabetic, who is overweight, who has any kind of comorbidity. And like I said, the gamut of comorbidities can be very, very broad. Or someone who's already in the hospital sick for something else. The coronavirus is just looking for weaker people to prey upon. So he is in a much more precarious situation having a COVID positive diagnosis after a physical injury like this, because his body, quite frankly, is already beaten up. So point taken, Aliano, when you live in the public eye, people are going to talk about you. They're going to report on you. It is what it is. It's par for the course. So Blissful says, look at this. Blissful got COVID. Oh my God. Got COVID, have Accutron asthma. What is Accutron asthma? Or is that acute asthma? Did the autocorrect get you? Feeling chest pains for 2 days. Had to call the ambulance this morning due to my chest pains. Wow. Now I'm in the hospital. Thank God I'm fully vaccinated. But this is so awful and scary, but I'm a fighter and God got me. Whoa. Blissful, we're praying for you. I'm telling you, when you have things like asthma and whatever, COVID is, And there's a lot of people a lot of people have comorbidities. A lot of people have asthma. A lot of people have heart issues and all sorts of other stuff. So, whoa, Blissful, we hope you get better soon. Emma says, remind me whatever happened to the Webster case. That seemed to have evaporated, or maybe I was just too busy when he was sentenced, if he was. Which Webster? Remind me. There's so many people with the name Webster. Which Webster was this? Sometimes it's hard to remember cases too, because trust me, there's a lot of them out there. Siobhan says, advertising for free with Mummy. Paula says, I have a little scientist in my hand. Oh, she loves experiments. Believe me, you. I don't know if she's going to be a scientist, but she's over there. So she's listening to her little show, and she's over there kneading the stuff in the bag. So yeah, she loves her an experiment child. She's always throwing stuff together, but you got to be careful what they're throwing together, because sometimes she'll walk up and she'll be like, can I get some borax? This is from like when she was 3 years old. She was asking me for borax. I'm like, borax? What would you need borax for? Because I want to make an experiment. I'm like, oh yeah, an experiment that's going to blow up mommy and daddy's house? I don't think so.
Mom.
Yes, ma'am?
This experiment won't.
What happened?
This experiment won't blow. All let's read this need is food coloring.
Oh, what a child loves food coloring for her experiments. We had to
When
do.
I was 3,
Uh-huh.
I put in a big bowl
Uh-huh.
baking soda,
Uh-huh.
food coloring,
Uh-huh.
water, and I let it set for 5 days outside, and it smelled smelly.
Yes. Of course it's going to smell smelly.
So Mama and Dada throw it away.
Mom and Dad throw it away?
And
Yes.
I
Well.
want to do it again.
And you know how Mama feels about a mess, right? Mama does not like a
Can you
mess.
get me food coloring?
Not right now, Mama. After the show. But we got to deal with some stuff with customers today. We actually have to work today.
My nail polish is coming off.
Your nail polish is coming off? All right. There we go. Everybody can see your nail polish is coming off. That's what happens with nail polish. Especially when you're busy with experiments. Okay, Missy, go back to your experiment. Vernita says, oh yes, she's saying that CDB helps. Leslie says people are taking all kind of things to patients, food, reading material, extra blankets, clothing for extra comfort. I guess, but I guess his family is given instructions that they don't want y'all bringing him anything. So just FYI. Miss Brenda says actually it's quite dangerous for him if he's got a cranial hemorrhage to be moved to general ward. So they have him on surgical ward, which I would hope means that there is still a great degree of oversight. I think when you're in surgical ward, they're still watching you very, very carefully. Oh, that child molester. He went to jail, and as far as I know, he's out, I believe. Good morning, Dion. So yes, I forget what his first name is now. Webster. What was his first name again? Which Webster was he? But anyway, I think he served his time. He might be out already. So yeah. Okay, folks. It is what it is. I hope that and I think a lot of what's happening came out as well is that people are getting used to a slightly different standard of reporting. So just like, we name people who are arrested, we cover civil cases. It's almost like people were not used to that because let's be fair, the Compass only would cover certain people. So of course they're going to cover politicians. So when, poor Mike Adams shows up in court, they're going to cover his case for common assault as though it was a murder case. And I'm like, well, why don't we do this for everybody? Why is there not a general standard that we report all sorts of cases? I don't really see the difference personally. I mean, I see the interest, like I said, once you're a public figure. So yes, if I end up in court for assaulting somebody, y'all know you're going to be all over that story. You're going to want to read that story. And I totally get it. I understand. But I think there's a general interest anyway. Miss Sue says maybe now if he has COVID, he can change his mind about being vaccinated. I don't know. I think it'll depend on how bad the COVID is. Let's talk about COVID for a minute. So yesterday we had our 12th death. And I know we announced it during the morning show that a woman had died. So obviously, when I hear that someone has died, if they're Caymanian, I normally know within a few minutes who the person is. I know who it is. I don't personally know this person. But sometimes I start to ask, well, who's this person related to? How are they connected? And then I kind of find out, okay, they're from Bodden Town, they're from East End, they're family to so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes even when people tell me that people are family to so-and-so, I still don't know because as you guys know, I did not really grow up in Cayman. So I don't have a lot of the connections. Like I can't say, oh yeah, Caymanians connect with each other based on what year you were in school and who your family to. Honestly, like I have watched my Caymanian friends and they'll be like, someone said, oh yeah, she went to school with me. So she'd be in my year group. And then her sister was 1 year ahead of me. Da, 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 da. And that's how because that's your friends that you grew up with, right? So I guess if you started from kindergarten all the way up with somebody, you're going to remember if they went to school with you. And so you get to know them a little bit better. And I guess because, especially back in the day, Cayman was truly small. You also got to know like people way better than you probably do now. I mean, I don't know what size schools are here, but this person went to school with me and their sister. I said, no, they can't be 45 because I'm 45 and they were like 2 or 3 years ahead of me. So people even figure out your age based on the whole school connection, right? And so I don't have that point of reference. So I don't know who those, I don't have that connection. So if I've gotten to know you since I returned, then that's a different situation. But in terms of going to school, whatever, listen, I graduated high school at Chamberlain High School. My graduating class had like over 1,200 kids in it. And let's be honest, you don't know those 1,200 kids. Like I would only know you if you were specifically in the classes that I took, because not everyone would have been even taking the same classes, although they might have been in the same year. So over 1,200 kids graduated with me. They were all in my year, class of 91, but that doesn't mean that I shared a class with 1,200 kids. Not at all. Class sizes were like maybe 15, 20 kids or whatever. And so if they weren't necessarily in my class, then I wouldn't know who you were. So this lady passed away yesterday, and we put up in the morning after the show that we've had another COVID death, and she was unvaccinated. Now, I don't know what it is with the unvaccinated, but y'all just love a conspiracy theory, and you just can't be consistent. Like I don't like people who are inconsistent. One thing I appreciate is if I wake up in the morning and I have some degree of certainty about how things are going to be in the world. And I get that COVID has upended our lives in a way where from 1 minute to the next, there is a lot of uncertainty and we just kind of have to be flexible. But if you're going to have an argument, right? And the argument has been whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, it doesn't matter. You can still die from COVID. You can da-da-da-da-da. Now we know the facts don't support that way of thinking, but stick with your argument. Stick with your mentality, not adjust it for every single case. So here's what I mean by that. There was one time, I can't remember which victim that was. We didn't actually say if the person was vaccinated or not. What had happened was at the time of hearing that they had died, I wasn't sure of their vaccination status. So instead of getting it wrong, I opted not to say whether they were vaccinated or not. All the anti-vaxxers come up. Oh, yeah, why are you not saying that this person was vaccinated or not? That's because they were obviously vaccinated and you don't want to say that. I was like, mind blown. I'm like, really? This is how anti-vaxxers are. They get very insulted about a lot of different things. But so because we didn't say that the person was vaccinated or not vaccinated, you jump to the conclusion that means that they were vaccinated. And we don't want to say that because that makes vaccines look bad. Say what? So later on, we found out the person was unvaccinated. And so I responded to that person, said, actually, they were unvaccinated. Don't be coming at me with all your craziness, please, and all your conspiracy theories. So after that, I said, you know what? Every single case, we're going to find out first if they were vaccinated or not, and we're going to put that up. Because obviously, y'all want to know their vaccination status. When government releases numbers and they don't even say if the person's vaccinated, why aren't they saying? Why aren't they telling us? What are they hiding? I'm like, geez, peace. No, sir. Y'all need Jesus in a special way. So when we put up yesterday, this woman was unvaccinated. I had people contacting me all upset. Why did you have to say that? Oh, you're creating a divide. I'm like, okay, I have said that about every other person except the one, and y'all had a hissy fit about that, claiming we're trying to hide something. So now this is our reporting standard. We say with everyone, and y'all get upset still. Is there any pleasing you? But y'all know I don't really care about pleasing people. But I'm like, is there any, what's the issue here? And I get that if the person is family, maybe you're upset, but they're not saying a person is vaccinated or unvaccinated to me isn't an indictment on who that person is. If they didn't get vaccinated and they died of COVID, to me, that's just a fact. And it is what it is. Y'all all up in your feelings. The facts are this. 11 out of the 12 people who have died have been unvaccinated. That's a fact. That's not something for you to get emotional about and get in your feelings about. If you're an anti-vaxxer and that message doesn't sink in, those numbers are not significant to you, then let's carry on. Continue to be unvaccinated. What do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what? I'm here to report information. Then I see people jumping on the post about, why are you posting this up? She barely died and blah, 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 blah. And she's my fan. I'm like, there's a reason why we didn't name the person. We could have said, for example, that she worked at Royal Bank. There's a reason why we don't put certain pertinent information in there that would definitely identify who the person is. And then you jump in on the feed and you're trying to make a point and you end up outing who the person is. It's like, really? You don't got no sense. Oh, so-and-so family haven't been notified overseas yet. Then don't jump on there talking about it. Don't say who the person is. We have 4,000 people in this country who were COVID positive at this time. Any of those 4,000 people could have died. And you know how many of them are in their 50s? You know what I'm saying? Like, we give pretty general information. I had people message me, who's this person who died? They don't know who it is, and they actually knew the person. So sometimes it's best to just stay off of those types of posts. Again, I know y'all are getting emotional about a situation, you're getting in your feelings. Oftentimes it's best just to stay off. And, I hear somebody making a mess over there.
No, I'm putting it on the floor.
Yes, because now the floor is going to have a mess.
On Daddy's hair.
It's on Daddy's chair? Daddy's not going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
She's like,
I'm trying to clean.
You're trying to clean it up? Oh my goodness. You're not a baby. Stop speaking gibberish. All right, ma'am. Back to your experiment. No. Leave mommy's phone.
No,
so I would just suggest to one guy said, I'm tired of the divide that you people are causing.
Hello.
Okay, ma'am. And I said, we're causing a divide because we're simply providing information about a person's vaccination status. I'm like, y'all are crazy. Truly. Anyway, Kristen, good morning. Good morning, Maria. Why he would now have natural immunity? Well, it certainly depends on what variant he has, because as we can see, there's no such thing as natural immunity when it comes to the Omicron variant. So you can have Delta all you want. That will give you no natural immunity for Omicron. That's another fact. Miss Sue, good morning, Miss Morna. Yes, happy 2022. Paula, she says that's my type of girl, a scientist. How do you feel about people having to pay for tests when traveling for medical reasons? So, Ms. Brenda, I think that definitely, there should be, well, in my mind, medical travel was always considered essential travel. And so, it should be covered by insurance, first of all, if it's medical that you have to travel for. They cover other types of fees and stuff like that. So I don't see any reason why insurance shouldn't cover PCR testing if that's the reason for your travel. It gets expensive having to do PCR tests, folks. I think in the US, I'm hearing upwards of $200 and odd for a PCR test. And now that they want it in a shorter period of time of travel, you're looking at an airplane ticket between going and coming to be able to pay for that. So yes, Miss Magdalene said your personal assistant payback is real when you have children come to form. Yes, child. What a thing. But yeah, Miss Brenda, I think that insurance companies hopefully are stepping up to the plate and are offering those options to individuals, you know, who wish to have it available to them. Now, government can't absorb the cost of everything. The entire Corona pandemic, we're now going into 3 years, has been a costly situation for governments. And I don't think that we have seen the real implications of it yet. But believe me, when I tell you that it's a situation, you know, it is really costing on the medical front, all the medical care, the death toll, burying people. None of this stuff is cheap, and it's all adding up. And it's just crazy. So, you know, I think that it's going to be a lot of money. Someone says, do they accept health insurance or just cash? I'm thinking that you have to pay for it from the perspective of the companies, but I would hope that you would be able to get reimbursed for it through insurance, because I think it should be one of those fees, again, if it's required for medical, that is actually that's actually covered. Okay. See, I just had somebody message me and said, oh, who died? So people still don't know. That's what I'm telling y'all be outing yourselves with certain things. Like sometimes it's just better off to really not say anything, because, you know, a lot of people still don't know. Seriously. All right. So cruise ships. What a hot mess. Can I tell you all that the cruise industry is just like gonna have to shut back down? I'm sorry, but as long as this pandemic is raging like it is, cruise ships will not be able to return to sailing the high seas. So there's a couple hundred cruise ships out there. They decided they couldn't wait. You know, they're like, okay, we're going to have certain protocols in place, and they did their best, but it just ain't working. What can you say? So now the CDC has issued a cruise travel health notice. They've upped it to level 4, and they did this yesterday, December the 30th. Big shout out to Kevin and others who are paying attention to this type of news. And so what this means is what they have said is to avoid cruise travel regardless of vaccination status. So, you know, the CDC has...
Are you drinking that water?
Would you like some water, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, you can have it. Yes, ma'am. So you can see here, as the CDC does with a lot of other things, they've got levels, different levels, and level 4 is the highest level. So they have just raised it to level 4. And folks, that means that they're not recommending any travel. Now, I don't know who in their right mind would be on a cruise ship anyway, although I must admit, I just saw some Caymanians on the high seas, and I was like, ooh, they are adventurous. No, sir, wouldn't be me. My daughter was asking about a vacation just yesterday, and I was like explaining to her that as much as we'd like to take a holiday, especially to America, because she's not been yet, because of COVID, we can't really go right now. She was like, this COVID, is it like in the air and in the sky? And 5-year-old trying to explain it. And I'm like, yes, COVID is everywhere, child. And she's like, oh, and we're going to get sick because we're in the airplane and the airport. And I said, yep, that's probably where you're going to catch it. So at the moment, non-essential travel is what I would recommend in any form. Bus travel, air travel, plane travel, anything. You just don't want to be around a whole lot of people. And cruise ships, folks, are petri dishes. I've said this before. Even before COVID, you have one person gets a gastrointestinal issue in a cruise ship. Guess what? It's going to spread to the entire cruise ship. That's just how they're designed. Like they're sharing. Listen, if you have 6,000 people on a cruise ship, all I can tell you is that's 6,000 people crunched together, sharing buffet lines in tight little cabins, air that isn't properly circulated. It's not like they're opening the windows on that boat and getting you all fresh air. It's just, yes, Leslie, it's a petri dish. It is. Sorry. And so, it is what it is. So the cruise liners are like, get vaccinated, do this, do that. 95% of the people on these cruise ships are fully vaccinated, including their staff, and they're still getting COVID. Now, thankfully, it's not the type of situation where they are, selling, where they are dying at the rate in which they used to. But it is the type of thing where people are getting sick. So the CDC is monitoring 88 vessels, at least 88 vessels. And I think there's a couple hundred out there already. So they're monitoring at least 88 vessels for, they're either under investigation or observation for COVID-19 outbreaks. Now, interestingly enough, the one that was supposed to come to Cayman, that was Holland America's MS New Statum, what is it? New Statendum or whatever. That one, which was scheduled to visit Cayman this past Tuesday, is actually on the list of cruise lines or specific cruise ship that is now being investigated or under observation for COVID-19 outbreak. Not surprised. The only reason I thought maybe it could have worked for us was because we were the first port of call. So each port of call, you're picking up COVID infections, no doubt, right? So if you're on a ship and everyone was tested 72 hours before, slim chance that test may not have caught some of them. If they're tested in an even tighter time frame, 24 hours before, the chance is even slimmer, right? But the testing isn't precise because sometimes people are just not, they don't have a high enough viral load even for PCR tests to test positive. So days later, they'll find out that they're positive, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's just how the virus works. And so at the end of the day, those cases will occur. Now, being the first port of call means that they haven't gone anywhere else. So hopefully by the time they leave Miami, Fort Lauderdale, they come here. I think no one has said this to me for sure, but I think that one of the changes that we wanted that the Holland America line probably said no to is we were probably saying right before they got off the cruise ship, test them again. And I'm sure Holland America was like, listen, this is just too much. Because it's a lot to test, even just 1,600, 1,700, because they were going to operate at half capacity. Some of these ships are not operating half capacity. They're going with a full load of 6,000 people, which to me is loco. That's crazy money. Child, they're trying to hurry up and make up for the 2 years or year and a half worth of losses in cruise ships. So unfortunately for them, cruise liners like the Carnival Panorama had over 3,900 people, passengers, and another 1,400 crew members, 1,450. Mexico was not letting them disembark or dock. Mexico's like, no. And it's so interesting because Mexico has been considered to be very, very liberal, even during the pandemic with their travel and letting people in. Mexico hasn't really cared too much. But now with these Petri dish floating around, they're saying no, absolutely not. So the Mexican government had to intervene because there's one Carnival Panorama was actually in the middle of a 7-night Mexican Riviera voyage. They started at Long Beach, California, and they were denied entry at Puerto Vallarta. They said, no, keep sailing. And part of the problem with this is these ships are oftentimes not meant to be out at sea like that. Like they're meant to dock, get people off, they can clean, they can da-da-da-da. So they're not meant to be nonstop for 7 days at sea. They plan the trip so that they know that they're able to dock and maybe get supplies and do different things. And when the port of entries are denying them and saying, nope, you can't dock here, I think it does present a problem for some of these cruise liners. So they were also prevented from visiting Mazatlan on Tuesday until the Mexican health department intervened, saying that then they would allow passengers who tested negative to disembark, provided they followed all of the World Health Organization protocols. So that's like social distancing, mask wearing, and all the other stuff, right? They also had the Royal Caribbean Odyssey of the Seas. They had some 55 passengers test positive. They were denied access to Aruba and Curacao, Bonaire, and other ports. So you're having these cruise lines floating around out there, and they're trying to go into these countries, and they're saying, no, keep going. So it's creating a problem. And now with the CDC issuing this alert, I think that what you'll find happening is maybe a lot of y'all need to reconsider your travel plans. Don't take a cruise right now is what I'm trying to tell y'all. This ain't the time for it. Because you could potentially go out there. It's one thing to not have access to, I want to go see all these other countries. But what if you get stuck on a cruise ship for a considerable amount of time? Because a lot of these countries are like, we're not letting you in. So imagine you're leaving from Miami, say, for example, and you're supposed to go, I don't know what Caribbean route you'd go, but say you're doing the Eastern Caribbean route or whatever. And then you don't get to disembark anywhere. And even getting back into Miami, because there's one that was going into Miami the other day. I think that was the one with the 55 or 48 people positive, whatever. Even Miami might be like, ooh, y'all got to wait a minute before you can get off the ship. That can't be an enjoyable vacation by any stretch of the imagination. So I would invite you all to think carefully. Over the holiday weekend, remember, over 10,000 flights were canceled. Talk about increasing your stress level when you're trying to travel and you got flights being canceled and this and that and da-da-da-da. Who wants that kind of stress? I don't know. What a hot mess. All right. Let's see what we got here. Miss Julie, good morning, my dear. How are you? Looking lovely in that picture. I love it. Aliano says, Miss Sandy, when you allow yourself to be like the monkeys slinging, you lower the standards. So the key is don't allow them to drag you. Yeah. Yes, for sure. That what's that saying about a fool will drag you down to their level and beat you at it because they've had so much experience. So yeah, I don't know if insurance covers it or not. But I think this is a statement that insurance companies could well tell us,
Now my experiment is white.
Why?
I don't know.
Maybe you added too much salt and not enough color.
Ako is the better. Show them.
Okay, she wants you guys to see her experiment is no longer as pink as it was. It's now white. Whiter. It's not quite white.
It's supposed to be white snow.
Well, then what's the complaint? There's no complaint.
But I need
You mean pink snow?
some food coloring.
It's going to be a day of experiments around here, folks.
Can I
Sue says this cruise ship business just not going to work now for
not Peppa Pig.
Hey, Miss Gigi. Let's try not to mess up the plaything. We'll pick up your Peppa Pig flight, please. All right, folks. So the good news is next week Gigi's back in school. That's the good news. Leslie, yes. I'm not really thinking that y'all should be getting a cruise ship anytime soon. First or last, especially coming from Florida. Yeah, I think it kind of made sense for us to be the first, but yeah, I think in the end, the Premier made the right decision and canceled that cruise. Omicron, folks, was a game changer. And quite frankly, it is what it is. Would that be the same with the flights as well? What's the question, Miss Morna? I think I'm missing the question. Miss Brenda says, why don't they just stay home, find another way to vacate? Yeah, I mean, I think what happens, to be honest, Miss Brenda, is people get used to doing certain things. So some people are cruise people. Like I know people take a cruise every single year and they've loved cruises and whatever. And so that's their thing. That's how they take a vacation. I guess I understand it at some level, but this pandemic has really shown us that you've got to you have got to make some adjustments, quite frankly, with your life. So yes, Marshall's saying, why would anybody be taking a cruise? Good luck just floating around out there. Andrea, good morning. They should do some backyard farming and fill up their bath pan and have a sun bath. Andrea, it's probably not the same as taking a cruise. Gabby says, Tanaya Yad, stay home. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. She's not supposed to be on the show, not at all. But as you can see, she just keeps interjecting herself. So let me see here now. All right. Good morning, Miss Nancy. Let me check our WhatsApp messages. So okay. So in relation to the NAU situation earlier, we've had someone send some additional information because, like I said, we take people at face value when they tell us something until we have reason to know that they're not telling us the truth. So like I said, I don't have any way of proving if this young lady's an NAU or not, but this is what someone has just sent on the WhatsApp. They seem to know what's going on. And they said, yes, they are an NAU. They've been an NAU. They've been by Clive for years an NAU until Clive just gave them notice and NAU found them a place as she just had another child. I can tell you for a fact last week before Christmas, when I was at NAU, she was right there and her daughter. What a hot mess.
Can I show them?
Miss Gigi.
This is for my potion.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead.
This is for my potion.
Yes, that's supposed to be for mixing brownies, not really a potion.
No, I have to mix with the potion.
Okay, so you're going to use your spatula to mix it?
Yeah. Like flip, 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 flip.
That's what we do with pancakes, ma'am.
Aww.
Okay.
We're making a potion pancake.
A potion pancake. All right. So there you go. I don't know.
Mom, it's for the salt. Mom, it's for the salt.
Okay.
Mama,
Yes, Mama.
it's for the salt, okay? It's for the salt. I'm flipping the salt.
Okay, so here's another comment in relation to anti-vaxxers. This is interesting. Let me pull this one up here. So this person has the following to say. They say, I have an anti-vaxxer Bodentowner friend who insisted the lady was vaccinated. I felt confident to argue with her because I heard it from you that she was not. She eventually switched the argument to say that it was the vaccinated who brought the Omicron here. I tapped out then. The issue is they refuse to accept that the vaccine protects from death and want to hear that it's the vaccinated who are dying, but facts are facts. Keep up the good work. So yeah, folks, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I've said this a million times as it relates to COVID. You are entitled to your opinion, even if your opinion is completely wrong, but what you're not entitled to are your own set of facts. And what I find a lot of people doing is a lot of people just make up facts, and you can't make up facts. It's either A or B. That's a fact. And we rely on statistical information when it comes to COVID. So, you know, it is what it is. Good morning, Miss Flora. So good to see you. Brenda says that's when things were normal. The world is a pandemic. That's why it's mutating. Exactly. Y'all just need to stay home. Miss Brenda say, may I have an omelet, please? Andrea says, Annie, you need some serious overhaul of its operations to really bring legitimacy to the needs of the Caymanians who are really in need. Hope Minister Ebanks takes notes. Well, I hope so too. I see somebody sending a voice note. Obviously, I can't listen to that. Oh, yeah, someone reminded me. Everton Webster was a child molester, and yes, he's out. So, what a hot mess. Okay. Let me just see. I'm just reading some of these messages are coming in WhatsApp. So CDC says don't travel on a cruise line right now. So I suspect the cruise line will be, just because the CDC issues a warning doesn't mean that people are going to listen. That's why remember when the CUC had increased our level to, oh God, I forget level. Have we got up to level 3 or level 4? But whenever they increase it for us, y'all up in arms like, oh, why we open the borders then? Because, this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, does it really matter? Because Americans, half the time, they don't listen to the CDC or anybody else. So are they going to listen to the CDC about traveling? Probably not. Cruise ships are still going to be out there operating, but it's for you to know. It's for you as the individual traveler to have the information and then make decisions from there. So listen, folks, we had a poll up on the website about should a person convicted of dishonesty be able to serve on a government board. 83% of the people said no. So I guess that's an overwhelming majority. We just started doing polls on the home page because I find that it's maybe easier there to see a poll and participate. So I'm still tweaking it a little bit. I need to actually message my And I think a lot of people don't know it's there yet, so it doesn't have a huge number. But when you go on the website, it's right on the sidebar. On the right-hand side, we have the weather little blotter there as well. And of course, we have some nice ads from different corporate sponsors. Okay, my good people. And I moved the calendar. The calendar was in the side. It's now down further down the bottom. So check out the website. You know, we're always tweaking it and making changes to it to just make it more user-friendly and better in terms of, you know, being able to find the information that you need. Okay, Marshall says Americans don't listen to anyone. That's why COVID is rampant here right now. Well, they definitely don't listen to the right people. That's for sure. Even Donald Trump, remember the other day, he finally decided to get vaccinated. He got his booster shot, actually. He had been vaccinated. He got his booster shot. And his supporters were up in arms about it, booing him when he told them to go get their booster. Because, you know, he's told the line with a lot of misinformation and being somewhat of an anti-vaxxer himself and telling you to take bleach and chlorine tablets and whatever to cure yourself of COVID. And unfortunately, the anti-vaxxers want to believe those things. We're working on a story about ivermectin. It might go up today that you guys will find very, very interesting. And I'm just waiting on a few bits and pieces to complete the story. So once I have that, then I'll let you guys know. All right, folks, guess what? This is the last show of 2020. Can you believe it? Now, not that long ago, we didn't even have a morning show. Do you realize that the morning show, because we used to do, remember we had Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, is how we started out in 2019. Only last year during the COVID pandemic, March of 2020, that's when we started the morning show. So it's just a year and a bit. And isn't it amazing how quickly it's gone by? And it's like a normal morning fixture. Thousands of people watch the video every single day. A lot of people go back and watch it afterwards. So I'm so pleased at the strides that the show has made since it's been on, especially a daily show. Daily show is very different than like twice a week in the evenings. Let me tell y'all, honey child, a daily show, you got to show up and be present and be ready to talk every single day. And thank you all for being here and for being part of the conversation. If I didn't have your comments to read and your engagement, and Jared, big shout out to Jared. He's our number one caller. Cece used to call all the time, and Cece got busy, child. She got a job. Cece's like, I need to get to work. But I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for a wonderful 2021. And we're heading in now to 2022. And we're looking to make things better every single day. Now, I told you a couple weeks ago, we are in talks with, I don't know if syndication is the right word, but we are in talks with actually going on air. So we will continue this platform where you can watch the video and whatever, but we may be coming to the airwaves near you very, very soon. So I'm supposed to meet, I think next week with the powers that be on the other side, and we'll iron out some of the details. So subject to, the details being and the terms and conditions being amenable to everyone, in February, you could be hearing the cold, hard truth on a radio station near you. So we're going to see. We're going to try to hash it out. We were going to meet up during the holidays, but it's very, very busy time. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm excited about that possibility. And I'll tell you, the funny thing about it is when I started doing the show, there's a lot of people like, oh, you need to be on the radio. And I was like, I'm a little bit lukewarm about, because for me, in my head, radio is a step backwards. Like podcasting is where it's at. YouTube podcasters, social media podcasters, like that's where it's at. But I do understand that there's a segment of our population that still doesn't have, although they should, they still don't have ready access to, social media, YouTube, whatever. Although y'all learning quick, I must tell y'all, a lot of these old people be like, "Oh, Sandy, I found you on YouTube, girl." I'm like, "Good for you." So I think there's still room in radio, right? For talk radio. And so this would be a very exciting project. And I don't want to say too much about it yet, but if we go down that road, you guys are going to be very excited. I'm going to tell you about the whole platform of that station and how it's going to work. And, it's exciting. So thank you, Miss Emma. Thank you, Miss Brenda. Thank you, Marshall. We're also going to be partnering with our friend MP Thomas and his show, which he has a show on, I think it's bi-weekly, but he does a Caribbean-based show called Territories Talk. And so his next scheduled show is, I think, in 2 weeks' time. And so we're going to start, I'll show you guys his promo, but we're going to start sort of another partnership with him, but we're going to start like a cross-platform where we will actually have his show available on our platform as well, because I think we have a very broad audience here that already exists. So I'm excited about 2022. Got lots of plans, got lots of things in the works. And I hope that you've got some plans for your business life, your professional life, your personal life, your health, all those wonderful things, and that we could be on this journey together. So I'm bringing you guys along on my health journey, by the way. 2022, I told y'all, I'm giving myself, I have about 1.5 years, I think is what it works out to be. But 50 by 50, somebody's going to be losing some weight, exercising, improving the diet. I'm going to get all into it. And I'm going to take you guys on that journey with me. Thank you, Miss Andrea. Leslie says, thank you so much for your efforts. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know much about what's happening down there. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Jennifer. Happy New Year. Hello, Miss Morna. Happy New Year. Here's Territories Talk, and they're going to be, we'll be partnering with them in the new year as well.
Season's greetings from the beautiful Virgin Islands. I am Shayna Smith Archer, a co-host of the Territories Talk Show, wishing everyone a happy and safe holiday season. I'm looking forward to more conversations with you as we inform and unite our sisters and brothers across the overseas territories in 2022.
Season's greetings from the beautiful Cayman Islands. I'm Eden Hurlston, co-host of Territories Talk, wishing everyone across the Caribbean and across the whole world a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous, healthy, happy, peaceful New Year.
Season's greetings. This is Chris Famous of Bermuda, one of your co-hosts of Territories Talk. We wish to let you know in 2022, we will be continuing the conversation on women in leadership, immigration, self-determination, and the cost of living in the overseas territories. So we look forward to continuing to informing and uniting the overseas territories.
Isn't that lovely? I love that. United folks, we are stronger, whether we're united in our individual islands or even united as overseas territories, as the region, we're stronger for it. So I support the Territories Talk initiative. I think it's great. So happy New Year to all of you. We're wishing you the best. Please be safe tonight, folks. I mean, let's usher in the new year as safely as possible. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. My husband's like, well, what do you want to do for the new year? Do you want to go to dinner? He was looking at some options last night. Normally we do dinner, and most of the time we just go to Thai Orchid. He's like, aren't you sick of Thai Orchid? I'm like, no, not really. But I think that was his statement, that he's sick of Thai Orchid for New Year's. And oh my gosh, you went and got my big salt? No, this is the kosher salt. This is the good stuff. Oh my goodness.
No, you can use that for your mango.
Okay, for my mango.
And I use that
for your potion. Yes, child. I love me some salt and pepper for mangoes. Y'all know that already. I don't have any right now, but yes. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing for New Year's yet. Probably we normally do a low-key dinner. But this year, I don't even know if I feel like dinner. I could just stay home. Maybe we'll just order something in. I don't know yet. So I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm wishing you all the best, folks. Happy New Year. And please be safe. Whatever you do, be cautious on the roadways. If you're going to drink, please don't drive. Have a designated driver, call a taxi, call a sober friend. I would love for us to make it the last 12 hours, whatever's left in the new year, for us to go through the remainder of it without any fatalities, no more, sadness here in the Cayman Islands within our community. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Hello.
So tomorrow is a public holiday. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do a show. Maybe I'll do a miniature show, like maybe an hour. But I want us to talk about some of our favorite moments for 2021, because there's been so much drama and pandemic and whatever, but we've still had a good year. Despite all of that, I want you guys to start thinking about what was your favorite moments of 2021. Make a list. Attitude of gratitude. We are blessed to be here, folks. And there's so many people who are far worse off than we are, right? So maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll have a nice, light, fun show. We have a lot of partners going into the new year that we are going to be working with. Some governmental agencies to bring you their messages, the National Roads Authority. We're looking forward to Missy. We're looking forward to partnering with the RCIPS, for example. They have a lot of positive message of safety that we can bring to you guys as well. And the more information that we have about what our government agencies or departments are doing, the better, right? Miss Gigi. So Miss Gigi, can you tell everybody Happy New Year?
Happy New Year.
Awesome. And the New Year baby's coming tonight, right?
Yeah, the New Year's baby is coming.
Yes. And what does that mean? What year is it going to be?
December.
No, this is December. The month is December. Do you know what year it's going to be? We're now in 2021. So what do you think the New Year is going to be?
I thought it was already 2021.
It is. But as of tonight, it's going to be a new year. And do you know what year it's going to be? What year?
Give me a hint.
Well, what comes after 21?
2021.
Yes, but what comes after 21? What comes after 21? No. What comes after 21? You should know this. 20, 21. What's the next number? Okay, you're not a very good co-host then, because you don't know what comes after. Miss Gigi. You don't know what comes after 2021. You're being silly. It's going to be 2022, folks. Miss Gigi doesn't know her numbers yet. Shame. You do know your numbers? Well, why did you talk?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Happy New Year, everyone. Miss Gigi. Behave. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Gladys. Thank you, Wanda. Gigi's being silly. Tell everybody bye, because you're back in school next week.
Bye.
So we won't be seeing you. We won't be seeing you next week. So I'll be back at school learning my numbers, because I better know what comes after 2021. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Looks like I'm going to have to call Santa and somebody today. No? Well, they better not misbehave. Folks, you guys have an absolutely wonderful day. Be safe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. So from all of us here, crazy little Miss Gigi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Baby.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.